Hello, how we doing? Wednesday word. How we doing, everyone? It's been a day, it's been a week. How about that? Happy hump day. Let me share my screen so we can get started. I hope everyone is staying warm, taking care of yourselves. I'm getting better at this. All right. All right. All right. Wednesday word, January 28th, 2026. What? January is almost over. Whew. Still becoming Dr. Barbara M. Scott, the covering. Welcome to another episode of Wednesday Word. I am Dr. Durene I. Wheeler, and I thank you for joining me. This space is dedicated to reflection, how I am experiencing the world, reframing it, and trying to understand it through my faith and lived experience. What I share here reflects my personal perspective and spiritual understanding. Thank you for being here today. Today's reflection marks the culmination of the Still Becoming series, where I have honored four Black women elders who poured into me and helped shape the woman, mother, and servant leader I am today. In week one, I shared about my maternal grandmother, Mamil, who I will call the root, the source and foundation of my warrior spirit, my no nonsense approach to life, my understanding of survival and strength. In week two, I honored my beloved mother, Miss Mary, the sustainer, the woman who nurtured my creativity, curiosity, and compassionate heart, and who taught me how to endure with love, discipline, and intention. Last week, I reflected on Dean Muriel J. Higgins Duster, the architect, a mentor who taught me inclusive leadership, equity, community building, and justice in higher education. As I shared last week, Dean Duster and Dr. Barbara M. Scott treated me like a daughter, pouring into me both professionally and personally. Today, I want to pay tribute to Dr. Barbara M. Scott, or Mama Dr. B, as we fondly call her. She is the covering. I met Dr. Scott before I met Dean Duster, and from the very beginning, she was a breath of fresh air. This sister was fierce. She commanded respect, not by force, but by presence, integrity, and clarity. She showed up fully and consistently, and people knew you did not mess with Dr. Scott. Dr. Scott was there for me in ways that went far beyond professional mentorship. She was one of the few people with whom I shared the reality of my divorce while pursuing tenure and raising my son on my own. She listened, she affirmed me, and she never treated my vulnerability as weakness. She covered me emotionally and professionally during a season when I needed someone who could both hold me steady and stretch me forward. I owe her much for that. Dr. Scott, Dean Duster, and Dr. Wamushi Njogu shared their wisdom and deep knowledge of navigating Northeastern Illinois University and higher education more broadly. They understood the institution, the politics, the unspoken rules. More importantly, they understood the particular vulnerabilities Black women face in the tenure and promotion process, and they protected us. Dr. Scott, in particular, showed up in very concrete ways for me. She served on my departmental application committee, or DPC, during my reviews and promotions, ensuring that my scholarship in African and African American studies and women's gender and sexuality studies was read, understood, and taken seriously. Her presence mattered. It meant that my work could not be dismissed, minimized, or misunderstood, and that my contributions were acknowledged with the rigor and respect that they deserved. Living and parenting far from my biological family required intention. I knew my son and I needed more than independence. We needed community. I was deliberate about creating a circle of elders and leaders who reflected wisdom, compassion, and possibility so neither of us had to grow alone. Dr. Scott was a central part of that village. She was not only an elder and a mentor, but a steady and faith grounded presence. While my mother taught me how to be a prayer warrior, Dr. Scott shared my spiritual values and supported me through careful reading, writing, and editing of my scholarship and my work, and she still continues to do that for me today. Thank you, Dr. Scott. She covers me intellectually and professionally during critical moments of past and present. A covering is not someone who shields you from growth. A covering is someone who stays with you while you stretch. Thank you, Dr. Scott, for being that for me. When I think about Dr. Scott, I'm reminded of Priscilla in Scripture, a woman who taught alongside others, who corrected with wisdom and care, and who helped refine gifts of those already called and capable. Priscilla did not dominate or diminish, she sharpened. That is how Dr. Scott has shown up in my life. Dr. Scott also reminds me of Makeda, the Queen of Sheba, a woman who sought wisdom, tested depth, and encouraged other leaders and engaged other leaders as equal. Makeda represents discernment, dialogue, and mutual respect. That too reflects Dr. Scott's leadership. She affirms, she challenges, and she expects excellence. If my grandmother was the root, my mother the sustainer, and Dean Duster the architect, then Dr. Barbara M. Scott has been the covering, present, discerning, affirming, and willing to stretch me as I continue to become. This reflection brings the Still Becoming series to a close. These women, the root, the sustainer, the architect, and the covering, remind me that becoming is never a solo journey. We are shaped in community, carried by elders, and strengthened by those who walk with us along the way. I am deeply grateful for Dr. Barbara M. Scott, her wisdom, her courage, her care, and her unwavering presence in my life. Her influence lives on how I lead, how I mentor, and how I show up for others. As I close, I like to give you a reflection question. So I want to ask you, who has been a covering in your life? And how are you honoring that gift? Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing and sharing. And as we move into February, I'll be shifting Wednesday word conversations to Proverbs 31, love, singleness, and how wisdom invites us to rethink worth in a couple-driven culture. Be blessed and be a blessing. All right, guys, I'm going to get that transition of closing a little bit better, but be blessed, be a blessing. Thanks once again for tuning in. I'll see you next week, and I'll see you with my random shorts throughout the week. Take care.